Howdy, everybody. This is Dave Lee of Hatton Cross Steampunk, and we are here for part 2 of our 4-part series to talk about steampunk vehicles that are being built as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but now to be debuted at the Atlanta Steampunk Expo in, you guessed it, Atlanta, Georgia. Now, there are 4 vehicles being built to, not only are they going to be debuted at Atlanta Steampunk Expo, but they're going to be competitors in the deathmatch races. Now, you may be asking yourself, but Dave, deathmatch? Death? Well, I'm happy to tell you that to this point, nobody has died. Not even the cones, because in the deathmatch races, we solicit volunteers from the audience to put an orange cone on your head and be the cones as a part of the events. And also to this point, despite some people trying very hard, no cones have been injured or killed. Okay, no cones have died. This was put it that way, allegedly. So anyway, last night on part 1, and we'll see if we can get the YouTube link posted all over the place. You could have watched Mr. Michael Parodi of Master Creations and also Hatton Cross Steampunk debut his progress on his flying saucer, and that is looking freaking fantastic. It is going to be a pretty wild ride to see Mike compete in that. And tonight, we are fortunate to have another competitor, another maker from Hatton Cross Steampunk, Mr. Dr. Jeff Church.
Thanks, Dave. So we'll
now,
yay!
Yes, imagine great applause. Now, if you're sitting there going, and you're really good at math, you're going, but wait a minute. There was a 4th contestant present last night, Miss Sherri Lehmbeck, and her husband John, but they actually had some appointments tonight, so they were unable to make our show tonight. So they're here in spirit. So I will be channeling Sherri's spirit by heckling the snot out of Jeff and Mike the entire process. Okay. All right, so Jeff, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're building?
All right, so this is my Venetian safari vehicle. It's primarily a scientific vehicle. So my scientist and driver of it will be sampling flora and fauna from Venus and taking samples and doing research. So that's her part of this. So this vehicle will be her research vehicle going through.
Now, it's good that you mentioned that, because it reminds me of a failure on my part of addressing. So the theme of the Atlanta Steampunk Expo this year is Steampunks in Space. And of course, there we go. Look at that.
Yay!
And, can we just get a round of applause for Gabi Isabel, who is the brains behind all of the tech stuff tonight. Gabi is just kicking butt and taking names. But anyway, so Jeff, do you have some kind of grandiose name for your vehicle, or are you still contemplating that?
Still contemplating. I'm not as good at naming.
Well, might I suggest another steampunk maker who is quite fantastic at coming up with some really amazing names, and that would, of course, be Stephen Chapman.
Yes, he always comes up with the best names.
Yeah. And most of the time, I can't tell whether that's a real thing or a made-up thing, because Stephen is just so witty and dry, sarcastic, that you're like, wait, is that real? Damn,
that's what happens when you get a creative engineer.
Yeah, which is like a conundrum in itself, right?
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
But look at you. I mean, you're a creative engineer building this beautiful.
I'm working
beautiful
on the creativity part. The build part's easy. The creative part's difficult.
I just want to know, were there any dining room chairs harmed in the making of this vehicle?
Yes, there was.
I would say that's not the harming of a dining room chair. That is the like lifting it up to what all dining room chairs aspire to
Should
be.
want to aspire to be.
Well,
That's correct.
it's actually funny. Our coffee table in our living room is made from 4 ball and claw feet legs, which were actually the front legs of 2 chairs like this. Actually, we got 3 donor chairs, so the legs were removed to make the coffee table, and so we had these skeletons around, and we're like, oh, there you go.
That's right. What are we going to do with these? You've been hanging on to these for years. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Well, at least a month or 2, and then yeah. So this is one of them, and luckily I have 3 because the first time I drove this around with no brakes, no real steering, no real gas pedal, I wrecked it. And
did you say your vehicle? Did you say your vehicle has brakes?
Oh yeah. So it's
what
actually
a novel concept.
It's actually got disc brakes.
Oh, I like it. It's a 2-dimensional vehicle. It only has wheels on one side.
Yeah, it only has 1 wheel right now because I had to order another wheel because I got a little frustrated putting the tube back in that one, and the hammer got the best of me, and it's no longer a wheel.
So your inner Viking was channeled, and Thor came out and smited it.
Yeah.
Hey, these things happen.
So yeah, so this is the main cockpit, and we were talking last night. So if I key it on, the gauges work.
Wow!
And this is actually the speed, the speed control as far as high, low, or mid range speed. We have a glove box.
Oh, and is that a post office box door?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's nice. That's a great repurposing. You're going to put your gloves in there?
Maybe, yeah. Probably the secondary or tertiary battery packs I haven't started putting lights on it yet.
Right.
Now a door that small is what you use to place your sanity.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to store your sanity somewhere.
There's still a lot of work to be done. You can see.
That's beautiful. You what did you make the fenders out of it? Did you hand make those or?
Yeah, they're actually sheet aluminum. So they're not copper. They're just sheet aluminum.
I was going to say you're a rich man if those are copper.
Well, some of the parts are copper, but that ain't it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a lot of detail. Like, so if I slip off the wheels, it's got.
I suggest you bolt those on before you try driving.
Yeah, they have locking pin bolts.
Maybe
but it is a knuckle.
Really good life insurance.
It is a knuckle axle with rack and pinion steering, and one of the hard parts is it's 32 inches wide. So the Polaris rack and pinion's 46, I think, when it gets here. So I had to remachine most of it. You can see this is the length of the steering arms, and for anybody that's used to these, they're upside down, backwards, and extended to get the steering radius at. Essentially the wheels are about 28 inches wide. So most people don't realize, but the Venetian surface has an amazing amount of static electricity. So the fuse system here is actually it gathers the electricity out of the static to help generate the power for it. So this is actually the fusing system on both wheels. Because obviously they carry most of the load with the static, and that's why all the copper is to ground the vehicle while it's in motion.
That's very
brilliant scientific. Now let me ask you this though: because you have your steering arms in front of the axle, do you have to steer left to turn right?
No, it steers normal.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just asking because
asking.
I had that one vehicle that I did the steering backwards like that, and I had to steer left to turn right, and it was a nightmare to keep trying from not rolling over.
Yeah, so you can see.
It made a challenge driving his vehicle. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I had to remachine the gearing and the rack and pinion to make it go in the right direction.
I just want to say you're also a brave man. You've got that propped up on a stack of 2x4s.
There's 3 sets of them, and then secondary blocks. So if it did tip, it'd only tip about a half an inch.
Okay, all right. I was like, OSHA would not be happy, man.
Yeah.
So you got it up on a table though, but how much does that weigh?
The table of the car?
No, the vehicle.
The table weighs about 500 pounds, right?
Nah, the table's right at 3,200. The car is probably 250, something like that. It's not bad. I mean, I can lift one end, but I have a hoist that just lifts it off the table and sets it back down.
Smart.
So
see, like it's always interesting to see how I build compared to other people, and the more I see of how you build, the more I'm like, man, I am just one lucky amateur.
So this is the battery. Obviously, it's really got. So that's the battery compartment.
Look at that. That's nice.
Lithium ion.
Can you get in there and service them, or?
Oh yeah, they're just bungee corded in place against a stainless backing plate. So it's actually designed for 2 of them. When we figure out, once we get it drivable, the new wheel should be here hopefully Friday, and it'll be drivable. So we'll test drive it, and if we need, we'll put a second battery pack in, depending on how long it goes.
Yeah.
What is the big thing on the back? It looks like a fuel tank or something.
Yeah, so this is where the scientific equipment goes. This will all be copper. These are just temporary.
It's a chrome toilet seat.
So there's one of these on each side, and actually the engine, that is the static electricity conversion engine.
Cool.
That goes in this side. And then the other side will have a matching door like this, where all the scientific equipment goes.
Nice. And what is that in real life?
That is an aluminum vent hood for like the top of a roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so
Nice.
that's the outer part of this is the ducting going into it. So it's got a nice curve to it.
Yeah.
And then of course it'll be lit from underneath. I'll put about a bunch of LEDs and get some pieces going.
You were talking earlier about how you don't do good paint jobs, but I'm looking at that copper paint. That looks fantastic. What did you use?
It looks like real copper.
It's
the Rust-Oleum copper.
Nice.
Yeah. And make sure you write on the darn thing, because I'm using gold and copper, and of course I have some other colors in the paint booth. So it's like I've grabbed the wrong color and painted something and went, oh yeah, it's supposed to be copper. So yeah,
I've done that on purpose sometimes to change to actually change the way the copper comes across.
Yeah. So that's like, this is gold, and then this is copper, and then
that's beautiful.
That's actual copper. And then
you can't really tell the difference between the real copper and the copper you painted. It's really good. You did a good job on that.
Yeah, in the front of this. This is actually copper, and some of the other pieces are actual copper, but they meld in really well.
Yeah.
I was going to say the real piece of copper you didn't paint as nice as the other stuff, but
it's because it actually tarnishes. Yeah. So
show me the piece that you did where you had to age it. What was that piece we talked about a couple days ago?
I don't remember.
You used a wash.
You can't. I've got a lot of detail in here. You have to
really look
that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is, the deeper you look, the more pieces you see. There's a bunch of machining and stuff inside here that you kind of have to. It's hard to show on camera, but you can kind of see inside.
It's those layers. It's a layered effect. You have to have a layer, or you give it visual interest. And
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want it to be the harder somebody looks at it, the more details they see.
Absolutely. And for me, that's what the Victorians did.
Yeah.
They took great pride in making things beautiful, and even if you weren't going to see them, they took the time and effort to make them, beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just,
Wi-Fi is a little laggy. Sorry. Actually, I'm wired. It should be pretty good.
he did warn us in the beginning. He said it's going to be a little Blair Witch project. Yes.
Yeah. It's hard to undo
Well,
a
yeah, because
bolt
you got
with
to
one
hold
hand.
it. See, Mike, Mike was lucky because he had this amazing professional cameraman there yesterday.
Exactly.
Who, was just like, that guy was amazing.
Yeah, in his own, he was outstanding in his own field, is what he was.
Yeah, so this is the actual drivetrain behind it.
So what is the base of the vehicle is what?
It was an ATV. From the original, this tube on both sides original, and that's it.
So was it like a kid's ATV or one for
No,
adults?
it was a full size ATV.
Oh.
I ended up cutting it and lengthening it because I made it originally. I'm short. Jenny has long legs, so the cockpit, when I put my foot here, when she did, her knees were up. So I ended up stretching it, lengthening it to seat better. And I started with the ATV frame with the idea that it would give me a base to work from. I'll never do that again. It was horrible. I've spent more time grinding welds out and re-welding them than it would have been just to start with raw steel.
Yeah.
The original frame, when you get it up on a flat table, wasn't even, and this thing's never been wrecked as far as I know. But it was so out of alignment, and I've spent so much time just chasing the alignment issues and stuff like that to get them back out. It would have been easier just to start with a raw frame or a raw steel and bend from there.
So it looks like we have a question from the audience.
Yes.
It looks like Rebecca Bell. Rebecca Bell says, what kind of terrain are steampunk vehicles typically intended for? Does planning for terrain factors into the design space or into the design process?
I gave a real quick answer, but ideally, or most of the time, you're going to be on a road, asphalt, or inside a con. But there are those places where you have to take that into consideration. So a couple of times, Dave and I have been out to Wild Wild West Con in Old Tucson, and that is a sandy, rocky, hilly,
dusty
environment. Dust gets and sand gets into everything, and you have to take that into consideration, or your vehicle's not going to go very far.
Yeah, and you want it. I mean, you want it to be fast and fun, but not dangerous.
What?
Yeah, I know. I've seen some of yours, Dave. I'm putting Jenny on this. I'm not going to risk that. But yeah, this is a 2800 watt, 48 volt DC motor. It's got a lot of torque.
Yeah, so some of the things that your vehicle is really going to excel at, where other steampunk vehicles may struggle with, is like, nobody ever thinks about it, but when you're going from the parking lot into the convention, even though the curb will have like a handicap access point, there's still a concrete, inch and a half, 2 inch lip there that little bit can make it very difficult to get. So some of the vehicles we've had, we had to pick up the front just to get it over that little lip there.
Especially if you extend them out beyond the wheelbase, because that's going to hit the lip before your wheels hit the lip to lift it up. So
this one is actually sitting pretty close to what it is now. So it's about 4.5 inches of clearance. But
you're not going to have any trouble.
But I did the back end intentionally. Even when the wheels are on, there's no, this thing's 8 feet with this piece on, but this does lug in. So 4 screws just loosen and it unclips and takes off. And this
That's good.
thing's only going to be, like 30 or 40 pounds after we
Only.
put everything. Well,
Yeah.
after everything goes on it, just, all the
Two man lift for the rear
Yeah.
end. But
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have reverse in that?
Yes. The reverse switch is actually on top of the brake.
Nice.
See the little button?
Yeah.
And so that's the brake lever for the mechanical brake. Let's see if I can get around to that side.
Because the reason why I was asking that is that, to Rebecca Bell's question, is that terrain you have to factor in as well. That is the, how good of a turning radius do you have to get around a convention? Because there's lots of tight nooks, and even though you go down a big hallway, there's vendors and tables and patrons, and it's amazing. Like, a vehicle is really like a light out in the boonies. It'll draw the like a light draws bugs to it. Well, a vehicle at a con draws people to it because and they don't quite seem to think, like they could actually get run over and killed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's the braking system. It's actually a hydraulic brake. So just about that much movement it'll lock the wheels. I mean, from full speed, it'll lock the wheels down hard.
Nice.
Hopefully she doesn't bump that while she's driving.
Right. Well, pushing it forward doesn't do anything. You have to pull it.
Gotcha.
But that's where the cable comes out for the reverse.
So what looks like Wendy, I'm sorry, Wendy, I'm not going to try to say your last name because I know I'll butcher it, but Wendy Milliken with art there of Sleepy Hollow Enterprises, she made a comment rather. She says, "I love roulette. It's too hard to pick between black or red when it's copper." So, and of course, now if we had brought Wendy and art into this, we would have all lost. There's no way.
Presenting with them in the audience is like showing your paint by number set to Picasso,
right?
or actually Da Vinci.
Yeah, those two are like legit maker ninjas, and
yeah, they are
some of my heroes.
Yep. If I ever grow up, I want to be
Sherri's
like
watching. She's on. She's watching from the hospital. Hi, Sherri.
Oh, hey, Sherri. Other questions, Dave? You said you had some.
Yeah. So, like, what were some of the factors you took into, like, before you started to build? What were some of the factors you said, all right, I have to count for this, I have to count for that, I got to make sure I do this, do that?
Kind of my parameters. It had to fit through an ADA door with no problem. So I think 34 is the bare minimum. So it had to be able to fit within a bare minimum of that. I'm going to be putting this in the back of the truck. So it had to go between the wheel wells, and it had to, with the gate closed, go in there. And that's why the back area with the scientific stuff unclips so quickly. Yep. Is so I can unclip it, move it, and then loading it here will be easy. Unloading it will be a little bit trickier. I'll have to get y'all's help in that.
Yeah, we can do that. You have ramps?
No, but I can get some. But honestly, it's not that heavy. You. He
says as his muscles bulge and
I don't have bulging muscles, but
I saw him.
I can lift either end of it.
Okay.
So two of us could lift it off the table.
So I did have another question. Your beard sponsored by Mike. Not Mike Parodi, but Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike. Yes.
Yeah.
Only person I trust to get beard stuff.
Right. Well, Dr. Mike is the man.
He is.
So the other question I wanted to ask you was, like, what was your inspiration for the build? Why did you pick Land Rover, Lunar Land Rover, and all that? What was the inspiration for that?
Well, Bill said in the closing meeting last time that he wanted to do like Venus steampunk, on Venus, and I think and that turned into in space. And Sherri's vehicle last time was just awe-inspiring. And so Jenny wanted something that she could drive around. She had so much fun riding with you. So she wanted something she could drive around. That she had little gadgets and stuff, kind of like Sherri had in her ambulance. So that was kind of the start. And so when on the drive home from Atlanta last year, we talked through like ideas and came up with kind of the English safari to Africa kind of motif, think Jungle Cruise kind of, Victorian, and then putting that, in space. Yeah. So the Jules Verne kind of, what would the Victorians have built the moon or Mars rover to look like?
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it would look like that because that is an absolute gorgeous work of art.
That's beautiful.
The question, though, really is, how do you think you're going to fare in the deathmatch races?
There you go.
That's going to be up to my driver scientist. I mean,
you're going to throw her under the bus.
Yeah,
it's all on her.
It's all on her.
No
as long as she has fun, I don't care.
As you can see in the folks on the watching this, you can see the photograph from last year's races.
Yes,
you can
Sherri's
see,
vehicle was incredible.
Yeah, Sherri's vehicle is on the left, and that's Sherri standing up there, kind of in the middle up tall. That is the Nightingale. I believe we're going to see that this year as well, plus the new vehicle that she's working on. And she's going to talk about that on Thursday.
Yep.
That's Mike there in the middle. He is Mike's a sneaky one because he was like, "Oh, these guys are going to go with these big vehicles. I'm going to show up with something small and nimble and fast that works." And he pretty much smoked all of us pretty bad. And he is the reigning ASE deathmatch champion. We did discuss we need to make some sort of award, like a prize fighter belt maybe, or something that we need to make that one can boast and brag with. I mean, and plus we'll give it to Mike just so that he can turn around at the same event and give it to the new winner, because I don't think he's going to win.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
But and so tomorrow night I'll be in my workshop and I'll be showing you my vehicle. Just think this: if you haven't seen any of the pictures or videos, think, what would an anglerfish spaceship look like?
Yes.
And tomorrow night you'll see my stab at making that a reality. In the picture you have here, these are three of the vehicles. The one on the right is the Gentleman's Armored Battle Carriage, the tank that I built with my father, my wife, my brother, and a few other folks helped out. The one in the middle is the Tricerapede, named by none other than Stephen Chapman. And that was the death machine that I it's funny, the more dangerous and death-defying the vehicle is, the easier it is to sell. So that actually sold, and it is up in Maryland, and you'll probably get to see that. It's at the Key City Steampunk Festival this year. And the vehicle on the left is our Roadster. It is a Roadster from the 1893 Chicago World Fair. It's part of the dinosaur exhibit. That's right, there was dinosaurs at the Chicago World Fair. And as one would expect, nature found a way and things got loose, and it didn't go well. So, which is why you don't know about it in your history books, because they tried to cover it up. But that vehicle was built by Mike and myself, Jordan, Jessica, my brother Joe. My dad helped out on the tail section and other parts. And so it was a big Lee family affair to make that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But
this is my first vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
I
Well,
think we
it's a
should.
good
Have, I
It's a
think we
good-
should have a penalty for each vehicle you've raced before, like a 2-minute penalty.
Oh,
we
pshaw, sir.
Mike, he's just they're just got to him and Sherri have just got to come up with any kind of scam they can to beat us because they know that. Well, okay, let me rephrase. To beat you because they know that they don't have to worry about me because my stuff hardly ever works. But
Yeah, yours is really good on power because you just got to be able to push it most of the time.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Dave. I got to take a little bit of slack with you.
So back to you, Jeff. So was there any problems that you, as in the process of building not only this amazing vehicle, but like your first vehicle ever, was there any problems that you experienced that you would bring into the next build or advise all the rest of
Tires
us?
are the hardest thing about it. I really feel like the tires are a difficult part. It took me longer to find the tires than it did anything, and I didn't find anything that I really felt good about, because no matter what hub you pick, this is a front spindle. And so every diameter is different, every bearing is different. These tires, I really hated the look of the lettering on them. And so, grinding all the lettering off to make it look more Victorian and less, modern Goodyear. I still need to do hubcaps for them. The rear tires are just going to be what they can be. Picking the tires, that was a really difficult piece of it. And then finding what electronics you want to use. Nobody could really tell me, even going to people that race real electric vehicles, it's like, okay, if I get a 2,800 watt motor at 48 volts, how long is the battery going to last? They can tell me, well, at max, it's taking this amount. And I'm like, well, how does that correspond to cruising around a con floor?
Yeah.
Is this battery going to last half an hour? Is it going to last 10 minutes? Is it going to last 8 hours?
Right.
And so it really comes down to, that they were like, well, it's how much drag on the vehicle, how much the vehicle weighs, what your ratio is. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know.
So you really don't have an answer, do you?
No. And I won't until the tires get here and we take it out in the parking lot and run it around for a half an hour. And, we can judge from there. And then that's why, I built it so it'll take 2 batteries. We'll
all kidding aside, that's why we, the vehicle's got to be able to be pushed, put it in neutral and be able to push it because, Dave and I continually do the Daffodil and the Gloucester Christmas parade. And there have been cases where either his vehicle or my vehicle have run out of juice by the end of the parade.
Right.
And you're having to push it up over a curb to be able to just even load it, and we're talking, how long is that parade, Dave? Maybe a mile and a half?
Yeah, it's probably comparable to like the Dragon Con parade, just not as hot.
Yeah.
But
right.
It's a long drag on the battery.
So far, I mean, just running it around the shop, and I wasn't able to open it up because, my shop's not that long. And I didn't have steering or brakes.
Oh, we want to see video of that.
Oh no, it was horrible. This floor is polished concrete with an epoxy, and it'll slide.
Yeah, you're drifting and you
drift.
Yeah, you can drift with it on this
awesome
floor. I mean, because it's polished, right? And the wheels had no tread, but
now it has tread marks on it.
But
so just in case,
I haven't recharged the battery yet.
So just in case anybody from the hotel is listening, Jeff will not be drifting in the hotel.
It doesn't leave marks on the floor.
Now, in order for that statement to be upheld, Jeff, you're going to have to refrain from letting John Strangeway drive it.
I figured I wasn't going to distress it. I would just let John drive it around a little while, and that would give it a nice distressed look.
He's a beta tester par excellence.
If you let John Strangeway drive it, he will break it. Even like I had a vehicle that was built on those little, self-leveling unicycles. He literally sat down, went 4 feet forward and it died. I had to send it back to the company to get something replaced. Maybe it's all the Mountain Dew in this system. It has like
it's got this energy.
It has like an effect. But John, you're not allowed to drive this, and you're not allowed
after the race. He can drive it. That way, I can find the weak spots of it.
Yeah.
So going into the race, do you have any tactics that you plan on employing to beat?
That's up to my driver.
Does he have any tactics?
I don't know.
No call drops. That's unfair.
We talked about last time flamethrowers were going to be available, right?
I mean, if hairspray and a lighter is a thing, then
acetylene and oxygen. What do you mean hairspray and a lighter? Come on. But
I can deal with hairspray and a lighter. You get the acetylene and the torch.
I think parameter wise, how do you haul it? How do you get it into the space? How do you get it off the vehicle? Those were kind of my first concerns. Then what kind of power ratio could it get? I mean, I do know this thing will not pull itself up a hill. If putting ramps on this table, which is 36 inches tall, it won't completely pull itself up, even without a rider on it. So it doesn't have that kind of torque. And I think managing expectations of torque. This isn't a real race car. You're not. I think this is less than maybe a horsepower or something. You're not putting a 50cc engine in these, and you don't want to. You don't want something that is going to get away from you like that Triceratops.
Sure, you do.
You want a vehicle that makes you and all of the people that know you question your life choices. That's what you want.
And your sanity.
I could probably fit a V8 in this.
Now, see, that's what we're talking about.
Hayabusa engine. So, Wendy said also she gave some good advice as keep a backup battery on hand. So I presume that by you having 2 batteries, that's what that is, right? The one's just in tandem to be your backup.
Yeah.
We like long extension cords, don't we, Dave?
And this thing will power charge pretty quick. I mean, it cycles. It's lithium ion, so it takes a charge pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't think I could afford lithium ion battery pack like that. I think I've seen those before, and I pooped myself. But
drooled a lot.
We have we usually use the wheelchair batteries because they're much cheaper. They're like $75 a battery.
Yeah,
I don't know where you've been buying your batteries, but the 2 I bought for my vehicle were not $75 a piece.
I haven't bought any in a while, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
For 2.
You were talking about the weight. That's one of the big things is it doesn't have those lead acid batteries in this. The whole battery on this is probably 6-7 pounds.
Wow,
that helps.
Yeah, I mean that's.
However, I will tell you that with some of the stuff that Dave and I build, having a little bit of weight in the caboose is a good thing, so it doesn't tip over.
Well, that was a real concern. That's why the scientific experiment stuff is going to be so light. There's literally that's all 1/4-inch plywood. That's an aluminum disc. Right now, even after we put everything in, it'll be shocking if it's 35 pounds.
Dave and I have a tendency, if you're going to go narrow, you got to go up. Right. And
this thing is low enough. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at the axle line, the battery and motor are below the axle line.
Yeah.
And so is the bulk of the steering, the
most
frame.
Of the weight is down below the axle line. So.
Right. And I mean, when you're sitting on it, I've sat on it and leaned all the way out as far as I can with the tires, and I can't get it to shift, much less tip, because I didn't want it going around a curve and dropping over. That would be bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that you kind of have to balance that out. One thing that helps, there's no suspension on it. I cut out all the suspension. So it is hard, this piece here is not suspension. That's solid. So there's no flex to it. And of course the front end, I went back to a solid axle bar here. So there's no roll, it doesn't give, it doesn't roll. It doesn't, the rubber of the tires is the only thing.
Yeah.
So tell Jenny that I would like her to practice this, but I want to see her go up on 2 wheels, and then I want some trick shit to see. You can't call it a death match race if you don't have some kind of wow factor.
It's got to be some wheelies and stuff going on.
I'm thinking propane cannon.
Whoa,
that'd be cool.
So for those. Excuse me.
Sherri says she wants to know how fast it goes, and I don't think he knows yet.
No, I don't. In the low speed, in the 30 feet of my shop, I wouldn't hold the accelerator down the whole time. But I don't think it's going to be ridiculously fast. It's just too much. It's 2,800.
Okay.
Not 28,000, 2,800.
Yeah, I know. But like the tank has 1,800 watts. And so if you've got 2,800 watts, if you have a similar gear sprocket ratio like you built for the tank, then the tank does about 15 to 17 miles an hour.
Isn't the tank 72 volts or something?
I don't know, but didn't you use the same sprockets setup?
Yeah.
So my bet is that you won't go any higher speed than I will in the tank, but you'll have a lot more torque. But my guess is that you're going to do about 15 to 18 miles an hour. That's my bet.
It won't get there fast though. It just keeps going up. Yeah, it likes flat ground, and turning radius sucks on this thing. I mean, there's not enough room in 32 inches to shift the tires enough.
That's why reverse is good, because you're going to be doing
and that's why I put it right there on the handle. It's easier to go into reverse, but it'll turn. It's probably 16-foot turning radius, I think. I mean, my shop's 28 feet wide, and of course there's stuff on each side, and it won't turn in the middle of my shop. But
yeah, but I mean, you got reverse, so you do a 32-point turn in a hallway, and you'll be good.
Yeah, Austin Power it.
Hey. That's why I asked earlier if you had reverse, but
yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, a lot of it, most of this under the copper paint is actually stainless. So
nice.
Like all the gilling, here, and here, that's stainless. Yeah. I'm trying a Dave trick. This is the front end of a lawnmower.
Yes.
Dave loves lawnmowers.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be the engine cover. I'm going to cut it down the middle and narrow it up and re-weld it together so that it's just the width from axle outside to axle outside.
I like it the way it is, actually.
Yeah, I like it. Well, with the tires on it, I think it'll look better narrowed up with the vehicle. So I think I'm going to start cutting it up and starting it.
One of the most rewarding things for me in steampunk is when I hear my friends say, I'm going to do this wild and crazy bullshit thing, and they blame me for it.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, yes, I've had an effect.
Yeah, and this piece, you were talking about weight. This weighs next to nothing. But this is all, this is only like
Luan, right? It's
Luan. Yeah.
Luan is great stuff.
Yeah. So you can kind of see Yeah, and you can kind of see the construction method inside. So, bending plywood on the outside and then just pieces inside to hold it. The plywood like stretchers across or to do things like hold the hinges for the two.
Oh
That's
yeah,
nice.
we were giving praise and applause and admiration to Gabi for being the brains behind all of this magic that is super super impressive. And she also just gave us, a like the kind of the 5-minute warning. So
All right.
we
Any
should
last
start
questions?
wrapping it up. Any last questions from the audience? Please post them somewhere. And I believe Rebecca Bell is our other ninja that is posting them, feeding them to us. But so make sure that you check out the Atlanta Steampunk Expo.com website. Make sure you get your tickets. It is February 10 to 12 at the Atlanta Marriott Northeast Emory area. And we are going to have a blast. Now, there is a million other things to do there as well. There's going to be great panels and amazing people in cosplay and showing off all the good stuff. So you come out, you're going to have a blast. Even if you don't even see us, you're going to have a blast. But I kind of like to think that we're going to be the highlight of the event, especially if a cone dies. I'm just saying. And Nicole, I'm hoping that you will volunteer again to be a cone.
Yes.
And Rocky, I know that those were two of our cones from last year. Did a phenomenal job. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody. Don't forget. Oh, we have another question. What kind of gadgets and gizmos are you adding to it, Jeff?
Just a bunch of different stuff right now. I have a whole table full of gauges and readouts and things like that. So it'll just be as this weekend the scientist comes down and she picks what she wants for sampling equipment and things like that.
So basically, what you're saying is it's hard to gauge all of the gadgets that will be on there.
Yeah, you have to meter these things out.
Right. Well, actually, it'll be easy to gauge because you have a plethora to choose from. So.
Yeah, we're gonna try. The idea of it is she's collecting specimens like a safari. Like the scientific Victorian safari.
You need a big net with a large handle on it.
Yep, and probably a holder for the net, and she's gonna have an animal in a cage. A few things like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it, Jeff. I really.
Oh
am.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
Somebody asked
SA is always a great con to go to.
Yeah.
Wonderful people, wonderful time.
I'm glad.
Yeah, and you can't get more. You can't get more of the epitome of a gentleman than Captain Bill. I mean,
that is true.
He
is an awesome individual.
A great cruise starts with a great captain and a great crew, and that ship is definitely sailed by an amazing captain, Captain Bill, and an amazing crew. Gabi being one of a whole army of folks that put this on. So you definitely want to come on out and buy your tickets, get your hotel rooms, and come on out and join us again tomorrow, same time, same bad channel. We will be talking about my vehicle, and I will be showing you what I envision an anglerfish spaceship looking like. And by the way, it is a passenger vehicle. So unlike these guys, I can give you a ride around the convention. So tune in tomorrow and buy your tickets. You're going to have
See you tomorrow.
Good job, gentlemen. Good job, Jeff.